Advice and exercises and anecdotes from a career in radio and TV studios, and also training sessions with groups and also one-to-ones as well. Hello, I'm Peter Stewart. On Twitter, Tweeter Stewart, TWWTERSTEWART. Thanks for the loan of your ears today as we work our way through the A to Z, what I've called the Diction-ary of Voice, to fit in with the voice terminology. Today we're on the letter D, and also tomorrow as well we're going to be talking about dips and ducks, and also DAWs to start. DAWs, not D-O-O-R, but D-A-W, short for Digital Audio Workstation. Sometimes people refer to it as a Digital Audio Workspace, and sometimes it's referred to as a D-A-W, and sometimes, as I have done, as a DAW. D-A-W. So what is it? What is a digital audio workstation? Well, it's this. It's what I'm using here. You can't see it, but you will be using it. Someone else will be using it on your behalf. It's the software you use to record, to edit, to mix, to play back your audio, and to save that audio elsewhere, to a hard drive, to your computer, or somebody else, somewhere else. So you can, as I say, so you can edit and mix it. You can manipulate it in some way, and also you can play it back out as well. So it's a record, edit, mix and playback piece of software that you use. So either a computer, which is dedicated to audio only, or maybe a complete multi-track recording system or software program. And what ones we've mentioned before, Audacity, which is the cheap one. It's the Commons license one. Looks a little bit clunky, but because it's free, it's a way for you to get to grips with how to record and edit and download and save audio without spending too much money, which you would if you use something like Hindenburg, which is usually what I use. I have used Audacity for an awful long time, but also Hindenburg is really, really good as well. It's very, very powerful, gives you what you need, but the price point is superb as well. You may have also heard of others like Adobe, really strong piece of software. But the trouble with Adobe and also something like Protools is that you have so many options, so many menus, so many drop downs, so many plugins that actually, frankly, you don't need when you're just processing and recording your voice. Also a couple of other ones, Cubase and Logic as well. They all, and certainly, as you probably have picked up by now, I work for the BBC. The internal system that we use in the BBC is something called D.A.W, small d, I-R-A, exclamation mark. I don't know whether that's available outside to members of the public. It's certainly not just a BBC system. You can buy it, but I don't know of any other individuals or production houses that use that, but potentially other broadcasters do. But they all work the similar kind of way. When you press the recording button and you've got your mic open and you start reading something, then you'll see the waveforms on the screen. You'll highlight a section in some way, shape or form to either remove it or to reduce the volume for that. Usually highlight all of the waveform and press a button to be able to save that particular waveform to your database. They all work in a very, very similar way. Inevitably, there is essentially only one way to do it, but slightly different ways to what buttons to press and when to press them. But essentially, down the same way that you would use to edit words with a Word document, so either on a PC or a similar document on a Mac. So you're using a mouse and you're using a combination. A lot of a keyboard. A lot of people prefer to use the mouse. A lot of people just use a keyboard. Some people prefer to use the tracking device, actually the pad on their machine. I usually use a combination of both. I like to use my mouse on the right hand side, and then my left hand is also working on the keyboard as well. Makes it much faster, much more dexterous in that particular way. So that's your DAW, the Digital Audio Workstation. Also, what is dead air in a studio? Well, dead air is silence. Sometimes silence is golden. We've spoken about this before. So your silence could just be a pause in a passage that you're reading from a script or a cue. It may be important that you put it in there for dramatic effect or for to show that you're thinking. Like that. It can be really, really useful. That's usually referred to as silence rather than dead air. Dead air is usually something unwanted. It's usually when something breaks, something doesn't fire, something doesn't go according to plan, something doesn't play out when it should play out. So that is dead air. Could also be dead air where someone has forgotten what it is they were due to be saying. They can't think quickly enough in an ad-lib situation. They turn over a page on their script and there are no words there. All of the pages fall on the floor for some reason, or whatever it happens to be. A microphone gets unplugged. A channel doesn't work properly. When you go to speak, everything you thought was plugged in properly, it is, but for some reason, maybe a little bit of dirt in the mixer, something like that, something has broken in the transmission chain. So you get dead air, you get silence, unwanted silence more specifically. Let's move on to de-emphasize today to produce a less emphatic or dramatic read. So your producer, your director may say, can you de-emphasize that word? Can you de-emphasize that phrase, that sentence, or maybe the whole script? Can you just tone it down a little bit? And this goes back to one of our very first episodes in Get a Better Broadcast podcast and Voice over Voice, when we were talking about the different levels going from a conversational read and also lower than that up to a really big announcering read and everything in between. So if you're asked to de-emphasize, draw back, dampen down, soften, usually slow down as well, all sorts of things that you need to do to de-emphasize. So we've got several episodes on that back in the day. Dips and ducks, means the same thing. To dip audio or to duck audio, you're fading sound underneath another track or maybe another bit of audio, maybe a voice that is at a higher volume. So I'll demonstrate that in a few seconds' time. Dip or duck. You're fading one sound underneath another sound. Now, I could talk all over it, but there may be a bit of a problem with my voice being drowned out by the music because it's at the same volume. So what I'm going to do is play it, dip it, and say my usual out cue, and then bring it up at the end. So if you think of a kind of ridge, you think of the Grand Canyon. I'm walking to the edge of the Grand Canyon. That's the volume. I've never used this analogy before, incidentally. It's just come to me. You walk to the edge of the Grand Canyon with the audio at the full level, and then you dip it to go into the canyon, and in that dip you place your voice, and then at the other side of the canyon and you go up again, and the volume goes up the other side to end at a full level. So let me just show you how that's going to work. So there is the music. Now if I was talking now, then it's going to be a little bit difficult for you to hear me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dip or duck the music. And if I reduce it then, and also now speaking at the same level as I was before, then it's much more comfortable listen for you. It's much better produced. You can still hear me, and you can still hear the music, and it's at a comfortable level. And now I can increase the music. And then I can dip it again. It's ducking underneath me. Okay, hope you've got the idea of that. And now I'm just going to reduce it completely down to a fade. As I say, don't forget to join me tomorrow for another edition of Get a Better Broadcast podcast and Voice over Voice. From London, I'm Peter Stewart.